All right. So, and at the same time, I'll also be addressing these questions as they come. So yes, we have effective facilitation, how to engage people. Yep, definitely. We have from Miss Deborah Lynn Afwang. Sorry for mentioning your full name. Beautiful full name. Tips, steps to effectively conduct online classes. Yes, we have step by step and a bit of hands-on tonight. So we'll try to squeeze in time for that. Structure of courses. Yes, we do have a structure that I will be introducing to you, and it's called FIBS. So don't forget it's actually an acronym, FIBS. Learn ways of organizing content. So yes, I have a step-by-step process which I actually use, and there's also an example of what I did in the past. Tools we can use, engagement for audiences. You know what? This for starters, one of the things that I really tried mastering is actually looking at the camera. Before I started, using Zoom later in my career in corporate training. So I forgot to mention, by the way, that I had more than 15 years of corporate training, whether it's leadership, language, process. Looking at the camera is one of the, things that you would want to master because, even though it's quite impossible for you to establish eye contact, you know, you should try to imagine. And that's why I needed for your screens for your videos to be up in order for me to be able to, look at your reactions, read your faces, and whatnot. So we have tools, all of the above. Yep, for Georgia, different ways of facilitation. Yes, we'll try to. Well, we're here to discuss facilitation by design, by the way. So how do you effectively use a certain structure to transition your physical, shall I say, your offline training to virtual, and how to effectively get the message across using the digital platform. Okay, so this is I would say we have some tips, and we will deal with some theories as well, established philosophies. So in this case, thank you for sharing your if this is all, then thank you for sharing your expectations. And just like what I've said, we'll try to again provide you a structure. What are the tools? There will be a very short hands-on for about 20 to 30 minutes, and there will be a discussion of some theories uh, that would basically provide us a guidance or a direction to let you know that what I'm actually saying makes sense. You know. So without much ado, again, thank you so much for providing me with your expectations for tonight. And oh, by the way, this is a common thing with Zoom. Sometimes share screen would be a bit slow, and in this case, it's really quite slow in my case. So let us discuss the objectives. Now, I'm very big with class participation. So if I may ask, at the end of this course, the learners are expected to. So I mean, these are the things that you are expected to achieve for tonight. So may I call on Mr. E.R. Libiternos? Can you please read the first bullet?
Identify the importance of Identify the importance of experiential learning and engagement in virtual learning.
All right, thank you so much. And yeah, thank you so much, E.R. Uh, it means that basically, what's experiential learning. So we'll get to know what experiential learning is. And again, we all know that engagement is very, very important, especially in a virtual learning setup. So what about Mr. Jerry Balasbaz? The second bullet, please, if you may. If you'd be so kind to read
Uh,
the second bullet. Thank you.
Create a rough experiential design plan based on wait,
Oh yeah, yeah. I told you. I
plan.
told you. Yeah. Well, sorry. This keeps on happening. All right, there you go. So again, please.
Create a rough experiential design plan based on FIBS or FIBS, and learning events management.
All right, so there's basically a bit of a hands-on that we're going to do today. So again, I'm going to introduce to you the FIBS structure. Actually, it's a FIB structure because S stands for structure or system, and then learning events management. So maybe some of us are familiar with the term learning event or learning events and how to manage a learning event actually. And you'll be surprised how, how quite easy or familiar it is to most of us or in our daily, professional lives. And then thank you, Mr. Balasbas or Jerry. And what about Jean Carl Tanglao? Please, the last bullet, if you may, please.
Identify the need for instructional design and coaching.
All right, thank you so much, Jean Carl. So we are again introducing two concepts, which are instructional design and instructional coaching. Instructional design is probably very, very familiar with everyone, but I would just like to highlight as early as now that instructional design is considered in demand. So you might want to consider becoming an instructional designer as well, apart from being a teacher and a content delivery expert or a lecturer, because instructional design in companies that I know, especially the company that I left, it's a BPO, and I'm not gonna mention. They are hiring work from home instructional designers. They're not actually required to to report for work. They are output based or output driven. It's an output driven role, and they're being paid. I would say a very good sum. Imagine you're at home and you're being paid what, about 50K, 60K, and that is just for starters. So the need for instructional design, and not only for us a profession option, but more of instructional design in the sense of being a teacher and an instructional designer at the same time. It's gonna help you a lot. And the concept of instructional coaching, which is basically a teacher needs a coach as well. Everybody needs a mentor, everybody needs a coach. And for those teachers out there, it's basically, you know, instructional coaching, we don't get much coaching as far as I know, although it's being encouraged in educational institutions. But from the training industry, or as far as professional or corporate training is concerned, we are being coached, evaluated, we are provided feedback for our own personal development as trainers, and I have experienced that in the last decade or 15 years of my career. And so, what I'm trying to say here is that I can see the importance of instructional coaching, not just in the corporate setup, but in every role or function that has to do with training. Okay, so these are two objectives, and to move on, here we go again. All right, there we go. So let me just tell you the rationale or what actually drove me. What drove me? Or in the Philippines, although this is very 2018 or 2019, the Hugot or the Hugot. So what actually driving me to conduct this training is it's not just about the virus. It's not just about the situation that we're in. Because bullet number 2 says technology is very pervasive in our lives, especially for the younger ones. So we use technology a lot. It's very pervasive in our lives. Yet education, in terms of its form, its substance, but I do not wish to really establish a debate here. So let us save that debate for later, maybe in another session. But it's considerably primitive. So my fear is that we will be using cutting edge educational technologies, but still with an outdated education mindset. So what do I mean with an outdated education mindset? Number one, we're not using technology inside the four walls of the classroom. Number two, we are still very teacher centered. We are still sage on the stage. We're still using that metaphor. We're still using the time in the classroom to talk, to tell what we know, instead of being a facilitator and giving opportunities for learners to be independent or become learner centered, or for teachers out there, I believe that the most popular form right now is to be OBE, or um, OBE, it's outcomes based education. So in this case, I believe in outcomes based. So in this case, in order to achieve outcomes based, you need to be learner centered. You need to address what they know, because the multiple intelligences of Howard Gardner is very old. It's at least 40 years old. So we should move with the technologies that we have. We should move our style, our way of facilitation towards a new way. And we have technologies to actually facilitate it for us. And another rationale is the new generation of learners, millennials and Gen Z, are considered to be digital natives. So what better way to engage them is to actually speak their language, use what they use. So it's actually, we are here to adjust to to the realities of, instead of going against it, the realities of technology, because students will bring, for instance, mobile phones or their gadgets in the classroom. We forbid them to use them. But what if, instead of forbidding them to use them, or putting a ban on it, putting a time on it, why not simply integrate it, whether it's online, virtual, or in a physical offline sense? And now, with a very short attention span, based from experience, it's very actually easier to bore the millennials and Gen Zs and basically everyone else if we are using the online platform just for lecturing. So in this case, since we're talking about new ways, or what are the demands of 21st century learning, so what is not a part of the four C's of this 21st century learning? So everyone, please use the chat function and answer using the letter. So is it A, communication? Maybe my computer is on AI. Very sorry for this. So is it B, comprehension, critical thinking, or D, collaboration? So I need your answers right now. So what do you think is not part of 21st century learning? So I need your answers right now. Four C's, da da da. So okay, I have two answers as of the moment. So we need about 20 plus more. So according to Georgia, none is not a part of four C's of All right, so Sir Jerry, I hope you can see my screen. So that's basically the question. What is not part of four C's of 21st century learning? So all applies. Some C, some is D. Critical thinking is not a part of 21st century learning, according to some. And then someone who goes by the name of admin, right, says B. We have D. None of the above. We have D. So one more minute to answer this question. And this is just one of the techniques to engage people in online. Ask a question. In this case, let me, or allow me to say that technically this setup is more of a webinar, and I'm trying my best to be as participative as I can, because the ideal size of a classroom, for starters, would be around 10 to 12 or 10 to 15. That's basically the ideal setup to actually allow participation and to address all the answers as effectively as we can. All right, so I think I have allowed enough time for it. So we have various answers. Some of you said that okay, all of them, including the four C's, but actually, the answer is da 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 da, letter B. Comprehension is not really a part of it. Now let me introduce what the four C's of 21st century learning is. All right. So we have C, communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and I did not include creativity. So When we talk about the four C's of 21st century learning, correct me if I'm wrong. Let me go back to if for a more accurate and exact reference, but I believe that this is established by convention that in order to succeed in education or to be a teacher or for our students, the millennials and the Gen Zs, most especially, we need to have these in our classes. So we have brief descriptions of the four C's. So for communication, there's a lot of sharing thoughts, questions, ideas, collaboration. It's an era wherein we need to work together because not only that in the classroom or physically we can collaborate. As you can see, there are a lot of ways for us to collaborate, share thoughts, because we have so much advanced ICTs or information and communication technology. Now, critical thinking is still a must, although it has appeared in maybe 20th or maybe in the 19th century. So looking at problems in a new way, linking learning. So making a connection between what you learn from different subject areas is still needed. And creativity, my favorite. Creativity entails a lot of doing new stuff, trying out new things. And creativity is not only important in the arts, but it's very important in a lot of fields right now. So that's why creativity is there in order for us to be risk takers. And remember my words, we need to risk take, we need to innovate, not only in terms of our artwork, but in terms of the problems in the world. Like in this case, you've probably heard of creativity or resourcefulness, happening around us in the midst of COVID-19. So we are being resourceful, especially our frontliners. Shout out again to the frontliners and to our heroes. They are making use of their creativity for their PPEs and to make sure that they provide quality service and care for our PUIs and for those confirmed cases, and at the same time being able to stay safe. So again, shout out to our frontliners, and I hope, and by God's grace, that we will all of us will be able to come out of this situation safe and sound and unscathed. All right. So you know what? In this lecture, my goal is, or not just in this lecture, is why not maximize available and free ICT? We have social media, we have Zoom. Zoom is actually free. It only the free version has a limit of about 40 minutes, but at least you can still use that in your meeting to embody 21st century learning. So that was the challenge that I set upon myself. So in this case, we have free technology. We have a lot of things that we'll be able to use. So why not use this inside and outside the classroom? And in this case, the question is, how can we be effective? How can we effectively use the four C's of 21st century learning in the virtual space? Now, another pop quiz that I have for you is, what do you think is not an advantage of virtual learning? So again, what is not an advantage? Or in other words, a disadvantage? Oh my God, I'm giving out my answers. I'm such a Christmassy person, very generous. So what do you think? So again, let's use the chat function. It's not an advantage. So we have B. Yeah, I think this is quite obvious, right? All right, this is quite obvious. Nobody will get a wrong answer for this. So, so for virtual learning, let me just discuss the advantages first. First, it's very low cost. It saves you not just resources, but it saves you time. It saves you effort, and it saves you with a lot of associated costs, really. And it transcends geographic and time boundaries. So like in this case, it's almost 11 p.m. or maybe 10:30 in Georgia's time in Australia. I don't know what really time it is in Saudi right now, but thank you for joining us. But for us, we are able to actually to gather together using the virtual space, even though we are not physically together and we actually have different time zones. and it's repeatable. As of the moment, I am recording this session. I'm not. Don't worry, I will not publish this anywhere. And so if it's repeatable, then there are a lot of advantages. If it's repeatable, if it's recordable, we can always go back for performance. Say for example, for instructional coaching, for me to be provided feedback on, for me to review my performance, so I can always go back to my lecture. Another is very convenient. So again, this is anytime and anywhere. Now, disadvantages, there are three. So yes, human interaction, or rather, I would say there's less human interaction because as far as I'm concerned, we are still humans talking. You can still hear my voice, and this is not robotic. We're just using the platform as a platform strictly, but we're still trying to cope with the idea that we're not physically together. We're not breathing the same air. We're just sharing the space. And it says here that online courses cannot cope with thousands of students to join discussions. Now, the disadvantages in general, and the third one is it's not meant for disciplines that involve practice. These are the things or the obstacles that actually prompted me or challenged me to design what I call fibs. So again, try to remember this as we go along. There's no human interaction. Yes, that's or shall I say less. Now, how do we cope with students to actually collaborate, discuss, and communicate? And another challenge is what if the course or the subject matter demands practice or demands a lot of learning through mistakes, going through failures, and whatnot? So let me introduce FIBS, or flipped inverse blended system. So that's what I call FIBS. So it's just a combination. So I can just consider myself a chef, but in real life, I'm not really a good chef. Uh, because for me, the best part of being a chef, I mean, the only thing that I know about food is eating as of the moment. And for Flip, these are basically a combination of different ways in order for us to transcend again. So two things: to transcend the limitations of virtual, and number two, to really uh, facilitate 4 C's of 21st century education. So flip, it's basically, you're just flipping. So it's quite the same with the I, which is inversing, but I define it as, in this case, if you flip it, then lectures are not happening during the live session. So how do you facilitate lectures then? Okay. So thank you for calling that out, Rock. I will answer that in a few. So experience of myself and my wife. My wife is a college professor at the University of the Philippines. What we did was before the actual class. Say for example, the class is at 9 p.m. or sorry 9 a.m. It's a lecture class Thursday at a given month and date. So before what we do is before the actual class, instead of you or the teacher spending time lecturing or consuming that 20 to about 25 minutes of that 40 minutes or that 1 hour, why not use technology like PowerPoint? There's a way for you to voice the PowerPoint. We have rehearsed timings and to record everything that you want to say about the PowerPoint. And again, give that or upload that to YouTube and give your students an opportunity to view that. And so for the flip setup or the flip instruction, you spend more time on hands-on or exercises for formative diagnostic assessments in that 40 minutes. So that's where flip comes in. Inversing, it's pretty much aligned to flip, but what I really mean by inversing here is the reversal of roles. So mentors are not really mentors, or I'm sorry, not really lecturing, but more on acting as or actively participating as a coach, more as a consultant, more as a mentor role, sitting there asking, guiding instead of, depositing knowledge, if you know what I mean. So participants do a lot of exercises and speak more. So that's where role reversal comes in. And blended instruction probably is really very familiar with everyone. So in this case, resources are available on LMS. So what is LMS? It's Learning Management System. So there's a lot of, it's a generic term for a website or an app wherein that's is your AKA your virtual classroom. So what happens in blended instruction is you can upload your resources, maybe an article, maybe a YouTube video, maybe a video that you prepared yourself, maybe exercises, maybe quizzes to that virtual classroom in order for you to extend that classroom time, because I know that one of the concerns that we always have in formal education is we don't have enough time. We don't have enough time for lectures inside that 40-minute window, maybe in high school, maybe an hour and a half for college. So we're always pressed for time. So that's why we have flip, we have blended instruction, and this allows us for self-paced learning. So in general, I develop fibs to allow for more interaction, participation, experimentation, and problem solving. So in this case, what happens normally is, again, we are spending the time for live sessions. And again, take note of the term live sessions for more exercises, more spaces to fail, more spaces for your learners to do it, learn by doing, learning by collaboration, learning by sharing, etc., etc. You know, so there's a lot of collaboration, communication, a lot of creativity, and a lot of critical thinking as well that you can include, because you know your participants will have a lot of agency or a space for them to do a lot of tasks. Okay, so I would like to pause for a bit for your questions. So if you have questions, please again use the chat function, or if you have a question right now that's quite pressing for you, just unmute and let me listen to your question. So this is what I call the Dora the Explorer technique, right? So you just pause, like, hey. So children, can you say this? And then Dora would pause. So if you're familiar with Dora the Explorer, or everybody's more familiar with Coco the Explorer, right? But okay, let's pause that. I mean, let's not go into politics. So in any case, I, let me show you an example of what we did. This is actually in tandem with Rock 2 weeks ago. So Rock, yeah, you will remember this very well.
Yeah. I'm so very familiar with the
Yeah.
fibs, and me myself, I can attest that this fibs methodology of Gian is really effective. That's why I'm so excited to you guys to share it with you. All right, sige, please continue, sir.
All right, sure. Just no need to take notes because I will provide a handout. You know, you literally will have a takeaway for tonight and a short exercise. So design thinking was the class that was facilitated by Rock. So I was the instructional designer for him, and he was the facilitator. So what we did was before or days before, we asked the student to assimilate or engage design thinking notes, articles, videos prepared by the facilitator. It was so fortunate that the school, they have a learning management system that they have, because if not, by the way, I will introduce Google Classroom as a tool that you can use. And if you're going to ask me, actually, a Facebook group, you know, in a way, if you're really creative, can really serve as an LMS if you don't know how to use Google Classroom as of the moment. So this is where we serve the blended and flip part of Fibs. And then the moment we go live, so the very moment the students arrive on that day, so Rock facilitated diagnostic assessments through group exercises. So we immediately challenge the students to apply what they've learned. Challenge for the purpose of, number one, knowing what they have learned so far, if they have really absorbed the content from the LMS. Number two, to know the level of learning that has been attained so far. And number three, which is maybe a technique that you should want to employ, is to actually catch those people who are not doing their homework. Right. So that's what is that's how we use this technique. All right. And okay, give me a second here. Sorry about that. So not only that, we were able to do the inverse, because most of the time in classrooms, you have lectures first, seat works, and then quizzes. In this case, you allow for learning through failures and mistakes. So the class would immediately know what they lack. The students would immediately know, what kind of level or effort I should still put into my learning. And then finally, there's also an opportunity for them to, to acknowledge that they don't know everything yet, and there's still space for improvement or areas for improvement for them to acknowledge it on a personal level. So in this case, the one in blue is collaboration. So blue is one of the four C's. So in this case, it's a diagnostic assessment, but you do it in such a way that's in groups. So there's collaboration, there's fun, there's communication or sharing of thoughts. We allow them to teach each other, because it is expected that they have assimilated information a few days before, and it makes it more fun because it's more of a social thing now. Instead of you have a quiz and you do it by yourself. And number three, so a facilitator act as a coach or a consultant. So there's more communication, and the same goes for learners and facilitators converge and discuss. So in this case, we diverge, we converge as a class, we collaborate, and communication is it's not only one way, it's actually in a multitude of ways. Right? So any questions at this point, my friends? Or maybe Rob, would you like to share your experience in? Okay, before that, let me finish with my bullets first.
Yeah, sige, go ahead.
Yeah, this is just to illustrate that this is how we accommodate the four C's of 21st century learning, and at the same time satisfy the need for virtual, or to overcome the obstacles of virtual learning. So number five, we also give opportunities to redo the scenarios and more exercises for our students to see that they improve on a daily basis. One of the problem, or my pet peeves with education, well, at least in the Philippines, is that when you fail a quiz, yung bawi mo, or your redemption, sometimes happen in a different day, sometimes happens or will come a few days into the future. You know what I mean? And it's very scary. So that's why there's so much pressure with every quiz. Instead of every quiz or every exercise, to actually let you know what you lack first before the summative assessments, right? So again, for those who are not in education or in the field of education, there are two kinds of assessments. There's the formative, where these are mostly diagnostic, non-graded, and summative. These are graded. And that's why we students in the Philippines, we always ask, ma'am, is this quiz graded or not? Because we would like to ease our tension. Because if this is graded, then, oh my God, maybe I'm not yet prepared. Maybe I'm not yet, um, I have not prepared enough or studied. So, that's the situation. So in this case, in redoing scenarios and redoing exercises, we now employ creativity or creative ways in order for them to get through challenges. So again, in a very social way, there's collaboration. So again, if you're asking, for those who ask, or for those who are expecting to know what are, how to do this engagement thing in virtual classes, make sure that it's not just about icebreakers and those things and those stuff, mainly by doing it in a social way, in a social and fun way, make them, meet each other, know each other, do things together. So, collaboration, that's one of the keys. And then six, come on, this is 21st century learning. We're using blogs, learning experiences, realizations. So allowing them an opportunity, giving them an opportunity to actually analyze and reflect about what they have just experienced will help deepen what they have learned. And then this is something fairly new. I know that most of us may not be, this thought may not be a welcome thing for all of us because of a lot of factors. But I would highly suggest to schedule mentoring or consultation sessions with your individuals or your or groups of your students after the live session. What are the functions? To motivate them, to mentor them, to address some of the questions that they still have, and to establish rapport and a safe learning environment, right? So, especially in Zoom, after the live session, we can have a different session maybe next week, a different session right after. So, this is what is FIBS. So, this is what I basically do or implement using the FIBS system. So, Rock, would you, briefly tell them your experience using this?
Yeah. So is everybody okay? All right. So the fib system, no, I applied it into my face-to-face workshop, and you know what, the design thinking workshop as it is really interactive already. Okay, but and when we apply these fibs, my challenge, in fact, my challenge, going back, my challenge in doing this design thinking workshop is, do they really understand the tools? Do they really understand and you're going to use it after the workshop? So those are the big questions that I noticed in my participants, because um, I had this experience. I conducted this design thinking, and I asked them, "Have you tried the design thinking tools? Are you using it?" They were like, "No, I actually forgot how to use it." So that's my big problem. That's my big questions. And then I met this Gian or John, and then we applied fibs to my workshop. Applying this workshop, the first time that we did it, the impact. You know what? Me as a facilitator and me as a workshopper, the impact is really really good, because I call it really success, because they understand the tool. They understand the tool. What I like here in Flip, we give them an opportunity to fail. That's what we did. So fail fast so they can fix the problem fast. Now, in my experience, I keep on talking. Okay, I have the entire program for design thinking. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, name it. I have the design thinking program for that. But when we apply this design thinking for 3 days, you know what? I think my speaking time for the 3 days is total of half day. Half day talking in front of them, and most of them I look like a consultant, which is that is my objective, to look like a consultant, to look like a coach in front of my participants. So that's how I measure the success in design thinking using fibs.
All
All
right.
right, go back to you.
Yeah, thank you so
Yeah.
much. And of course, wow, thank you for your sharing. Uh, and hello, shout out to EDSA. So as you can see, it's very still empty as of the moment. Don't worry, I'm gonna teach you how to do this later on, because this is part of the experience that we also have with Zoom, my favorite. And especially Rock, I would like to just comment on what Rock said, that he needs to look like a consultant, because as you well all know and see, he looks like a rock star, and that actually diminishes his credibility, because the problem with rock sessions is that, especially for the participants would just stare at rock the entire day and learn nothing. And that's why you need to implement fibs. Learn nothing because of the inspiration, because rock is such a celebrity looking guy and a rock star. So in this case, uh this is the what, basically. This is how we address the limitations of virtual, and this is how we are making sure that the 4 C's of 21st century learning is embedded. So now that we know the what, let us tackle now the how. So how do we do this? First of all, let's talk briefly about what experiential learning is. So, another pop quiz: what is not An example of experiential learning, is it rote learning, B, case study, C, role playing, or D, situated learning? Okay, so chat, chat, chat. So let's look at your answers. So shout out to my wife for providing me water. So we have A. All right. Seems to me that everybody got the correct answer, which is rote learning, because well, I cannot be so sure, but from what I've learned or from what I've heard, since the Americans introduced their public school system here in the Philippines, rote learning is the style that has been introduced, and the vestiges or the remnants of this kind of learning is still there. So in this case, it's not an experiential, kind of learning. So experiential learning is very distinct from rote or didactic learning. But before I continue, again, thank you for your answers and for your participation. And when we talk about experiential learning in a nutshell, it's all about active learning. But if you're going to ask me what's my own definition of experiential learning, my own definition is really more on, as much as possible, involve all the senses as much as possible. If it's really really possible for you to include the sense of smell, because as far as I'm concerned, what we have in education, most of the senses that are being used, less hands, it depends if maybe the subject is industrial arts or maybe hands-on, but for the most part it's really audio visual. And that's why most teachers are preparing PowerPoints, because of course that's the current structure that we have. But having the thought of including smell, having the thought of including touch. So in this case, it is very active. If there's a lot of experiences, you are actually giving an opportunity for senses to be there, and not just senses. I have a rule which I call five senses, sometimes six senses, if you're a believer, and the six emotions. So I include, opportunities for people to reflect, not really be sad, but be more of, reflective of a certain topic. So how do I do that? I will let you know when we go to the part of the how, or the practice part. Hmm. So let us compare. So first, let's talk about the simple topic of washing your hands. So first, we have washing your hands as of the moment. So as you can see, there's an instructional. So we have complete information. The content is there. So let's consider this as your letter A, or your exhibit A, right? So let's compare which of among the things that I'm going to show you is more experiential, or the things that would involve more senses or more emotions, or the things that, or do you think this can really help for your students to really remember, the lesson. So again, the lesson is about washing your hands, or hand washing, which is very timely. So now we have visuals, we have instructions, we have words. But what if we have this kind of instructional? So this is more creative. So not only that there are visuals and words, small words though, but it's an instruction for you to sing what kind of song, or which song. Yes, it's the Bohemian Rhapsody. So imagine if you allow your students to really do this, or demonstrate it at one point in your class, maybe for just 20 seconds. Maybe you ask them to step out of the virtual room, go to the bathroom, and do this or sing this. Or if they don't know the lyrics, just sing along with it. You're playing YouTube. So this is our B. Now, what about this? Now, this part is about using color. For some of you, you maybe know this kind of video, but this is more of a tactile way and more visual way of doing this. So it's like your soap would stand the soap would be colored red or maybe colored blue, and they can visually really see how you are disinfecting your hands. Or what about this one? Anyone familiar with this video? Now, this video has become viral recently, as this is just a very simple exercise or a way to represent or a metaphor, wherein again it's very tactile, it's very kinesthetic, and it's just pepper on water. And I think the person here just dipped his fingers on soap, and it's a very good way to illustrate that when you put soap on this water filled with garlic. Oh, no, it's not garlic. It's pepper. Yeah, it's pepper to stand in for the bacteria or the virus. And it's a very visual way to see the effect of hand washing. So using again your chat function, so we have exhibits A, B, C, and D. So which for you is the best way or the most experiential way to deliver the lesson on hand washing? All right, so we have B. So yep, seems to me that Georgia is a music lover. So we have C, C. Yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody version. Yep, of course, I know you're a Queen fan, Miss Nancy Palma. And so we have C, B, D. All right, so in this case, as you can see, most of you answered B, C, or D, and nobody answered A. That's again the usual, right? It's just audio. Oh no, it's not even audio. That's just purely visual. It's like your DOH campaign, and maybe that's one of the reasons why we never really put our messages across in this case. So that's this simple exercise that we're doing is just a way for us to illustrate what else can we do or how can we implement creativity in such a way that we will involve senses, we will involve more aspects like music, will involve visualization, metaphors, and everything to put our messages across. Okay, and I have a separate class for this. But don't you worry, there will be, for those who are here tonight, there will be, I will take note of your emails. I will personally invite you to a free webinar again on using gamification and creativity to transform your quizzes, transform your exams, transform your activities to make it really more engaging, involving the senses, involving the emotions, to add more drama and flavor. So let us move on. And again, thank you for participating. Now, for experiential learning, I just got this from a certain resource, and the criteria to make sure that you are conducting experiential learning, not just in any space or in any platform, whether it be inside a classroom or outside the classroom or in virtual space. You must always have them actively involved or participate in the experience. So it shouldn't be a one-way communication. It is really better if you are being assaulted with questions. Let me tell you, if you're assaulted with these questions, it means that your activities are very effective. It means that your activity has struck a chord, and they must be able to reflect on the experience later on. I will, provide some tips on how you can collect or provide them with an opportunity to reflect, and they must possess analytical skills to conceptualize the experience. So this is where your art of questioning or your ability to facilitate really comes in. And you should always allow for them to apply their knowledge or their newfound learning in decision making and the problem solving skills in order for, again, for information to be more deep and more profound in their systems. Right. So for experiential learning, so there are some tips on how to be able to make sure or to make experiences really deep. And in this case, our pop quiz would be, what is not an example of the 4 E's of experiential learning? So we have aesthetic. So some people, in some references, they spell it with an A. Education or educational, escapist, entertaining or entertainment. Ah, what's happening? Anyway, maybe you've seen the answers, but so what is not an example? Which do
You're
not
so
belong?
funny, Gian.
Thank you, Bishila. That's a very good compliment for me to keep on going on. Thank you for that. And I'm so alone here in EDSA, by the way. Thank you for keeping me company. So, which is not an example for ease of experiential learning. So we have C. Oh, Jerry, you're very, very. You're now applying creativity, with your spelling. That's nice. Very engaging. A. You have C. Okay. hmm So A and C. What about educational? Of course, the goal of experience is, or not really the goal, but in every experience we learn something. Whether it's negative or a positive experience, we learn. And of course, we want an entertaining experience. So basically, it's A and C. All right. The answer is none of the above. Okay, I know you're a bit partial with A and C because because at this point I need to explain what A and what aesthetic and escapist really means. So for entertainment, we all know what that is. We know the concept of edutainment. So if we always remember if we're entertained by our teachers, so we are very engaged. So that's why we learn, or at least we remember the teacher, right? So it's actually very, there's a thin line that separates it. So you need to be very careful because sometimes the teacher will just be remembered and the lesson is not. Educational, every experience is educational. And the goal of, experiences is to be memorable and remembered. So in this case, this 4 E's of experience economy, or what we call the 4 realms of an experience, if you satisfy, so you can see the circle in this graph, this is what we call the sweet spot. If we are entertaining and educational, and we include aesthetics or aesthetic satisfaction. So what are aesthetics? So this is basically the criteria on how we measure if a thing is beautiful or not. So in this case, is the singer good? Is the dancer, or did the dancer move well? Or did the conductor or did the pianist did give justice to a certain piece of music? And this is quite related, as you can see, down below the graph. There's just a thin line that separates it. And I would just like to go back to your experiences. If aesthetics are so good, you get to you tend to get lost in the experience, right? If the teacher is so good, or you tend to forget everything. If the music is so good, you forget your problems. That's why you listen to music to relax. You need aesthetic satisfaction. And in this case, if aesthetics is so good, so damn good, you tend to immerse, and we have the word immersion right there below. You tend to escape, okay? Involuntarily, again, the word involuntarily escape the world that you're in, or what we call the state of flow by some psychologists, whom I cannot pronounce the name still. But if aesthetics is so good, the experience is so great, you tend to forget where you are, you tend to forget your problems, you tend to forget your context. You even tend to forget that you're inside a classroom or learning. So in this case, this is the sweet spot that we are trying to attain, right? So that's basically what the experience economy is all about, my friends. And I have of course, in relation to my offer of gamification and creativity, or applied imagination course, applied to education, which we will be discussing later before we end. You know, experiences and the 4 C's of 21st century learning is pretty much intertwined, right? So how do we create or allow for such experiences to to be very profound. So it's by conducting learning event. So by definition, so we have a very wordy definition here. So it's all about planning, managing experience. So there you go. That involve the acquisition of knowledge, skills, attitude, and behavior. So we have various examples. If you can see this graphic, so we have by mimicry or by imitation, we have experimentation. Coaching is a learning event. So in a nutshell, to create a compelling experience, aside from using the structure of the four C's of 21st century learning, we can satisfy learning events by including as much as possible a lot of learning events in our curriculum or in our plan. So we have a curriculum, but most of the curriculum or the curricula is basically, we do lectures, quiz, assess, and this, it's very, very predictable, not only predictable, but very, there's a lot of things that we can actually be creative with. So by including a lot of events, by including a lot of things to look forward to, you engage your student. If you don't make your class predictable, that's another good way to become very, very engaging. Now for me, how to prepare, and this is one of your key takeaways for tonight, how to be, how to really conduct or create a learning event, and I have it in very playful characters below. For me, a learning event should be treated as an event production, should be treated like a concert, like a debut party, like a wedding, and you will be successful. Because I'm also an event manager. Aside from being a theater director, I was an actor once. And so what I'm trying to show here is, why did it become, yes, Michelle, yes, it's showtime. You should always have that kind of mindset that if you are going to teach a class, that it's showtime. It's a friend of mine would always say, it's my time to shine. Because what my pet peeve is are wedding receptions. I've been invited to become hosts. I've never managed a wedding event before, but if I would be given a chance to manage a wedding reception, I would make it in such a way that it's like theater. Because just like what I'm saying here, with all of the bullet points that you can see on your left, a wedding reception has complete elements of a concert, of a theater play. You have rituals, the cutting of those cakes, the releasing of those doves, the bands, the music, the crying of the parents, and all of these things. It has a lot of elements of drama. So in this case, it has a lot of emotions. It has a lot of opportunity because there's food. There's also smells. There's also decorations and everything. Now, the only thing that's really missing here is a story. Is how to really make it in such a way that it rises, because every wedding receptions that I've attended, as far as I'm concerned, is very, very predictable. Now, why not, make it in such a way that it's surprising? It's really out of the box. It's really, really creative. So why not really treat a wedding event that's exactly, or why not treat a learning event in the classroom, whether virtual or offline, like an event? Because if the goal, again, of a wedding is to be memorable, isn't the goal of education is to become memorable too? So in this case, making events experiential will make it more lasting, memorable, engaging, and impactful. So not only as that we are our own celebrities inside the classroom, we should also look at ourselves, in this case, as teachers, as facilitators, to wear multiple hats. One of the hats that you will wear, again, you will be an instructional designer with fibs. Number two is you will be an instructional, you will be your own celebrity. And number three is you should also look at yourself as an events manager. So in this case, I'm introducing the concept of experiential learning events management. So the primary tool of an events manager, you should have a checklist and you should have an event beat. So what's an events beat? An events beat is basically, a beat is, it's like a scene, it's like scene one, scene two. So you're actually treating this as you're really creating your own movie. You're really creating your own theater production. So in this case, we have a very general or sample event beat here. So why not prepare for for your class using, this framework. We have a pre-event, we have a prologue, we have a during or the build-up, and since it's a show, it's showtime, we have a main event and a grand finale and an epilogue. So in this case, you don't need to take notes because I will give you again how I treat this. A sample on how I do things on a personal level. Okay, and this tends to really be a literal, linear way of preparing for stuff, right? So, hmm, all right. My PowerPoint is rushing to the finale. All right. So, for example, the pre-event would, or before the online course, create an online FB group. If you don't have an LMS, update contact information, and welcome participants to the course. Because again, another pointers for engagement, you don't engage only during the live session. Engagement is really from end to end. Engagement begins the moment they enroll, the moment you come across using an LMS or the Google platform or what have you. And in this case, why not provide logins and instructions? So in this case, you'll be providing the Zoom URL, any useful links. And why not establish a theme? Why not assign costumes or a virtual background like what I have? Like maybe you can provide an instruction that for 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 tonight, I would please show your favorite animal, like what I'm doing right now. Right? These are my cats. So and then you'll be preparing lesson examples, activities to the theme. So I think that the very first theme when we started doing this when I started doing this, it was in August and it was in time for August 21st. So it's Ninoy Aquino Day. So I asked every participant to be in yellow and to as much as possible wear a Ninoy Aquino eyeglasses. And the moment they entered because this is a physical classroom, the moment they enter the classroom, the songs Magkaisay, anything associated with people power is there. And you have to remember that these kids weren't born in 1986 yet, much less 1983, or much more 1983. So in this case, I'm trying to provide an immersive and aesthetic experience for them. And in this case, since this is an English class, we drew examples from Ninoy's speeches, from Ninoy's writings. So, we are attaching themes to experiences. So in that case, you also have tons of YouTube videos that you can show, like how Ninoy really spoke. So there's a video Ninoy. We have a lot of things and icebreakers related to that. So that's what comprises your pre-event. Now, during the moment that this started, or your live session would start, so I call this as a prologue. So you would mute all participants in order for audio not to have a noise traffic or noise pollution. And then we have creative introductions that weren't able to do it here because this is really more of a webinar type of thing. And then check all resources are working on the participants' end. That's why I kept on asking for feedback once in a while. And and during the online course is to again keep lectures short, broken into 5 minute to 8 minute segments, and this is considered to be the ideal attention span nowadays. If you don't believe me, go to YouTube videos and you would see most YouTube videos would run in this time frame. Pause and ask questions for clarification. Be sensitive to icons like the raise hands. We have the chat, and use poll functions for class decision making. And this is also to make sure that this is more or less a democratic, and safe space for learning. Now, guys, this is my final pop quiz question. Which Zoom function is best to use to facilitate studies and mentoring sessions? What do you think? Okay, just guess. Or what do you think? As the term suggests. So is it share screen? Share screen is what I'm using right now. Is it the chat function? Is it the poll? Is it the breakout rooms? Or shall I call tambay? Or the bystander's favorite. All right, so okay, yes, although all of these functions or Zoom functions really do facilitate mentoring sessions or collaboration, the best is letter D or breakout room. I won't be able to do it or to let you see how it's done. But in a nutshell, if you're the host of Zoom or in some other platforms, there's always an opportunity to group people together, bring them to a separate room so they can do their own groupings. They can have their own private conversations without others, disturbing them. So it's really dividing the class, and the class is they will not it will not be very noisy. So unless you want to try, but maybe we'll try it a little, maybe later if we're gonna do this very quick exercise. So yeah, that's the breakout room, and this is my favorite, not because I like breaking people up. As a matter of fact, I am pro. What's happening? All right, it's because breakout rooms really facilitate collaboration. So these bullet points, these are the things that can be facilitated there. We have, if you're familiar with think, pair, share, or think, group, share. So this is an opportunity for them to collaborate, because what we normally do is, okay, we present a concept and then send them out to their breakout rooms, teach each other, work together, solve a case, solve a challenge. And we're also addressing multiple intelligences and preferences, by the way. Um, when we go to when we go to FIBS design, I will include multiple intelligences and learning preferences on how to design according to what are the strengths of your learners. But for now, so this is a thing that we should always keep in mind. So we also have the whiteboard function for shared activities, and you can have case studies or creative outputs if you want them to create skits. It's very possible using the breakout room. Another is, again, like what I told you, allow as a prerequisite of experiential learning is for them to be allowed time to reflect. So in this case, it's like, consider this as you're breathing out. So if you're giving them a lot of activity, so there's a lot of breathing in, there's a lot of information being taken in. This time, reflection is an opportunity for them to breathe out. Reflect what just happened in class, what just happened a few seconds ago, what happens a few topics ago, or what happened, or just immediately happened, before you allowed them for this reflection time. So we have 1 minute papers. So this is a kind of paper wherein, okay, just write what you think. I mean, write what you want. Don't think, and you're just allowed for 1 minute. No erasures. Just be yourself. It can be blogs. It can be through conversation around the classroom or around the breakout rooms. And when I say recitation here, it doesn't really mean that the graded recitation that I ask a question, you answer right or wrong. Recitation really is more on reportage, or how the student can summarize his thoughts or her thoughts about the lessons. And of course, icebreakers. If you sign up to our lab, because again, this is just an introduction of the course. And let me tell you in advance, Rock will tell you details about this. We will have laboratories of 10 to 12 people, and you will have an experience on how to facilitate, or you will give you workshops or laboratories or opportunities to really facilitate a mock class in order for you to apply what you have learned today. So in this case, icebreakers, they're always very necessary. So in my case, I favor karaoke video key breaks, icebreaker videos, warm ups or dance breaks. Shout out again to Miss Debbie. Maybe Debbie Apuang, if you're still there, maybe you can plug to our participants your sessions in your physical movement or your dance sessions, right? Or maybe in chat. Right. So that's your main event. In the finale, it's not a quiz. It's not the boring part. It's really more on how you MCQs mean multiple choice questions. So whether you are facilitating more exercises, you're actually preparing them for further challenges. You're preparing them for, for things that would actually give you an opportunity to grade them if grade is really necessary. So in this case, I would just like to let you know that for assessments, it doesn't only mean that you're limited to the quantitative aspect or the numerical equivalent of grades, but you can also have a collection or portfolios, a collection of thoughts like reflection papers. If you have LMS handy, it's very easy to collect blogs. It's very easy to collect, their thoughts. It's very easy to collect, just like what Rock said, fail fast. The good thing about reflection papers or the building blogs is that the student, not just only you, it's the student for the student to be able to track what have I learned so far, I have improved, so I can trace my own learning history. Or if the student is really, we can really use some vlogs, or like maybe TikTok. I don't really know how TikTok works. Let me assure you, I will learn that in the spirit of ICT. I will learn TikTok and how we can be able to integrate this with this kind of learning. And your epilogue is to conduct surveys at the end of the training to solicit feedback, not just for yourself, but to solicit feedback in regards to what else do I need to learn, any clarifications. And this will serve as your opportunity to follow up. And it's like what I've said earlier, towards the tail end of the discussion of FIBS, is to conduct a consultation and mentoring session, again, for the purpose, not really academically, but to build rapport, for motivation purposes, for engagement, and to keep them intact, especially in times like these, wherein socialization is not possible. So this is a very good way to achieve both engagement and socialization, and at the same time ensure that you're on track when it comes to your learning. So that's basically it. And I hope I made it on time. So yes, any questions so far before we go to your very quick exercise? And let me stop sharing first, and let me share to you a form. Are you sure you don't have any questions? Okay. Yes, at least we have one. Okay. I'm so honored to receive your question. So, Miss, I'm sorry, I don't have any visual, any way to confirm. So, what's your question, please, Mr. or Miss JS Alman Sean? Please unmute your mic. Fire away.
Hello. So, yan yung question ko.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
Can
Thank you
you
for
hear me?
introducing your question using
Pwede nyo
your.
ba,
Sure. Go
being
ahead.
a digital art na instructor, so may difference ba in applying these tools and techniques pagdating sa pagtuturo naman ng art, like visual art?
All right. So when teaching visual art, are we talking about digital visual art, or are we talking about
Di-
visual art, classic one?
Digital visual art,
Oh,
like digital painting.
okay. And then are we talking about an online class?
Yeah. Online class.
All right. So is there a difference in applying these tools? Nothing really. The only challenge is, I suppose that you need to be able to have an an ability to show them. Because if I were you, I will show them. I think in your case you have you have a necessity or a need to demonstrate stuff. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this case, the challenge to demonstrate things on a live session is quite difficult because you need to share a screen. In this case, I would suggest two screens. In this case, for
Mm-hmm.
Zoom, if you're the host, so you're the one who created the meeting, in this case, you can have another laptop or maybe another monitor that will join as another participant. And in this case, if you share that screen, they can, you can show the steps in using clicking on some stuff. Another technique is, again, to prepare these things in advance. So maybe put it as an assignment. Like, you know what, guys, I recorded myself doing this, so
Mm,
watch
mm.
this video. So
Okay.
that's a way to do it. Now, was I able to answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mister. There you go, JS. So for Georgia, what platforms do you recommend for all the ideas that you've shared? How do you create breakout rooms? What I can do, because I am very limited with the screen right now, in which to which I apologize. To answer your first question, platforms. Number one, Zoom. It is my favorite. That's the best. There's a free version for Zoom, which you can download. Another is YouTube, definitely. PowerPoint to record videos. It's very easy to do that in PowerPoint. And for LMS, again, just like what I've said, you can just use a Facebook group or a Google Classroom. We will conduct a seminar on how to step by step create a Google Classroom. By the way, and I hope you will be in that class. And platform for whiteboards, we have the whiteboard in Zoom. Let me do that for you. Platform. All right. Here is the whiteboard, my friends. So we can draw something, and whether it's digital or not, I am such a bad drawer. Consider this as abstract. You can erase it. And you can also try, you may try, go ahead and try the whiteboard. Let me just make sure if I allowed you to do so, by the way. All right. And while we're figuring out the whiteboard, let me address this question by Miss Mirna Natividad. How could we have conducted this session tonight like a play, as you have described? Okay, first of all, if you're gonna look at the beats, it's like an event, right? So it's like a play. If I have done that myself, I would have run it. So in this case, we can. I'm going to share it to you, the file, without much ado. Just need to find it, or else I'm toast. Okay. And remind me to show you the breakout rooms later on, or to let you experience the breakout rooms. Give me a quick second. Or you know what? Let me put you to breakout rooms first. I'll stop sharing this. So since there's about let me recreate rooms. All right, so your assignment is to get to know each other for about 2 minutes. All right. And I'll open a room, and you can see there that there will be an invite.
Hello? Yeah, I guess the other ones are still in the
They are still
breakout.
there in the breakout room.
Yeah, in the breakout sessions.
So anyway,
Mm-hmm.
Mukhang they're having their sharing time.
I agree. Oo. Ano sila? Bumalik na si
Hindi,
Gian.
hindi pa kayo nakakabalik actually. Nasa ibang, you're in a different realm. Nasa ano?
Pambihira. Anong room to?
You're joined with,
Kung saan mo kami?
joined with Mirna.
Iba-ibang dimension.
Wala pala. Nasa ano pala kayo? Hindi pala kayo pumunta ng
Nasaan kami?
daya nyo. Nasa main
Yeah,
kayo.
we did.
Mm-mm. Nag-breakout room kami, tas umalis na.
Yun pala yan. Daya nyo. No?
Oo. Bago sila mag-join, nagbabay na kami.
Daya. Alis muna ako. Punta ako doon sa ano. Hindi, ganito na lang. I-assign ko si Rock
Sige.
breakout room 4.
Oo.
kasi po magkakakilala na kami. Kaya, kaya ayaw na namin mag-usap.
Okay. Understood.
Oo.
Now, I will assign Rock to breakout room 5. Ang gawin mo, Rock, sabihin mo, may mga tanong sila. So you can address the questions.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Moving you now.
Okay.
And Debbie, you'd like to
Yo.
move to a different room?
Pwede naman, sige.
Chika lang. Moving you to breakout room 3. 2.
Nahiya pa si Debbie.
Debbie. Oy, Rock, i-accept mo to.
Right. Okay. How?
Yeah, i-click mo lang yan.
Pwede niyo po akong i-assign sa ibang...
Join break room. Okay. Join breakout room number 4 ako, no? Okay.
Okay, sa ko po kayo Ma'am Mirna sa breakout room 1. Yan. So, kindly click.
What do I click po?
Diba, if you will receive an invite.
Okay. Shall I click on join breakout room?
Yes, ma'am. Please.
Breakout room 1.
Alrighty. Hey, Mom Crisel, how everything is going? I'll assign you to breakout room 1. And please accept the invite. Rock, pare, hanapin ko lang yung file ko. Bilang ko nung nasan eh.
Yeah, we're done now with the breakout 4. And where are the others? Are they in the breakout as well?
Nagkukwentuhan ba? Saglit lang.
Okay.
Yeah, because I got to visit them. No, you won't be able to hear them because they're not room. Rock, I will send you something on video. I mean, sorry, on Facebook. Rock, are you there, my friend?
Yep, I heard you. Okay.
Okay,
See
cool.
you
I'm
in
gonna
the
send you something
Facebook.
on, and then try to share this to everyone in class, please. I'm having a
Sure.
problem. Or maybe send these to through their emails, through respective emails. Do you have the copy of all their emails?
Yeah, I have a copy of their emails and I can forward it to them.
Yeah, perfect. I just sent you through Facebook. So this
Okay.
is their some sort of a manual.
Okay, downloaded.
Okay, and I'll try to send this. So, how's everyone's experience in the breakout room? If this is your first experience, then how's your first experience in the breakout room?
Mm-hmm.
Was it fun? Was it all right?
You
So
know
yeah,
what?
yeah. It's also perfect for
Yeah.
blind dates. And I'd just like to address a question of Miss Georgia. How do you share vlogs?
Well, knowing that,
It's,
yeah.
it's my shall I say my economical way of doing it is I have a vlog, I have a file, I will upload it privately in YouTube, and I would have it. I would just send the link to people either through their personal chats or chat rooms, or maybe in their own social media accounts. So that's an economical way of doing it. Breakout rooms very nice. Or you can just simply use share screen and then play your vlog and all of these things. Right. So you were able to meet some of your folks, and hopefully you will still see the same faces if we provide you with the invitations for the succeeding webinars. They're going to be free. The webinars are going to be free, and then Rock will discuss what about the workshops, or what about the laboratories, and what's the significance of that. But for now, okay, JD, yes, the answer is yes. There's a separate chat box when you are in a breakout room,
Yeah.
and some of you were able to try, reaching out to the facilitator, just in case the facilitator is not the in the breakout room. And by the way, as of the moment, I'd just like to let you know that the situation in the U.S. is, it's quite heavy as of the moment. A lot of people are flocking in the White House as of the moment, and the situation is very tedious as of the moment. So there's tons and tons of pressure. All right. So any more questions? Rock, could you please send them the stuff? All right. So let me just share my screen really, really quick. This will become more of a what shall we call it? It's like gonna be more of an assignment, or more of just like a take home for you that you can do on your own. That that if you wanna submit it to me for me to provide feedback, I'll be more than happy to do it. So it's an exercise. Let me just share screen. Now I'm just looking for my PowerPoint. All right. So our exercise is going to be how you'd be able to create your own rough, experiential virtual design using the form that I will provide you, that Rock will provide you through your emails or respective emails. And you will establish your fibs, and you will fill out your event lead sheet. So let me walk you through the form. All right. Can you share? Can you see my Word document? Yes. No. I don't know.
Hello. Yeah. Hello.
Yep.
Gian. I think you're showing the wrong screen.
Am I still sharing the? Okay. Let me stop. I think I need to share
Yeah.
my. There you go. Just the actual file.
The Word file.
Yeah, there we go. Can you
Yeah.
see it? It's called Learning Events, Beats, and Scenes.
Yeah, it's yeah, this is correct now.
All right, cool. So, all right, so everything that I've walked you through, guys, is here. So you don't really need to, and again, you don't really need to take down notes. Just what I've said. It's you can actually for if you want to practice, this is a good way to be able to make sure that again, and this is some sort of a recap. The four C's of 21st century learning, and again, that's communication and collaboration, a lot of working together and sharing information, and a lot of critical thinking and creativity is integrated in your curriculum. Right? That's one way of making sure, and it's also one way of making sure that collaboration, or people says, or some people say that it's not possible to practice. It's not possible to actually establish good rapport and communication through online. This is our response to that. It's called again FIBS, or flipped inverse blended system. And again, we have separate workshops to do that. So in this case, we'll and to answer Mamirna's question earlier, how do you make it seem like a play? One quick answer is again, establish a theme, establish a festivity. Maybe you would like to do Halloween. Maybe you'd like to do um, a 1950s theme type of thing. Engage it. We have senses. You design your classroom. Like in this case, I can change my background anytime that I wish, and I can let me show you how it's easily done. You just click on your video, choose virtual background, and in a very quick way, you can be in the presence of royalty, like what's happening right now. I'm so blessed, that His Excellency is attending my own workshop, right? So in this case, we have all of the things. It's a step-by-step process that will make sure that you're still seeing my Microsoft Word, right? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Thank you, Jared. So in this case, everything that I told you, all the tips are here, but that's not all. There are more tips, but these are the basics. So the actual form is here. If you are planning, if you want to plan your own event or your own learning topic, so we have a subject. So inside that subject, what's the topic? So let's say for example, it's math. Then we have algebra. Who's the facilitator? How much time we're going to spend? So the date and time. What's the theme? Let's be playful. What's the theme? Is it Malacanang and His Excellency? What's the Zoom meeting ID? I'm being partial with Zoom here. For me, it's one of the best. And all right, there you go. So Rock was able to provide us. Please see in chat. The thing that I'm showing you right now is here, and that's my personal gift for you. It's early Christmas, or shall I say, it's your early Easter gift. So you can have the going back to the sheet. So we have the participant contact information. We have the media and academic resources. You want to put links here. So be engaging. Make it fun. Do you need costumes? What attire should we be in? What props? What's the virtual background that everybody should share? Are there any system issues? What are your learning objectives? Of course, we didn't really cover learning objectives and activities because this is again reserved for another session. How about what do you think are the things that your student need to address? Like let's say for algebra, do they know how to multiply fractions in the first place? Because if not, then it will be very difficult for them to really learn algebra. Believe me, it happened to me. So learning milestones and reflections. So what about your assessments? And post your URL for your survey. Do you schedule a mentoring session? And this is just a one pager wherein you can integrate every tips and tools that we have here. But then again, this tool, by the way, is a work in progress. But what is included in this tool, or in this, shall I say, a canvas, is years and years of practice and experience of what I did in my corporate, informal setting, and in in all the trainings that I've ever done in my entire life so far. All right, so Bishop's sharing for now, and so again, that's we're not gonna do it now, but we're gonna do it. I mean, if you want to do it, then please do so. And let me just wrap up, and before I turn it over to Rock for the final few minutes, or actually the crunch time, is I would just like to wrap up, tie everything with the objectives. This is a very good standard practice that you should do. Is I would just like to ask a few questions, and please answer me with a few keywords or notes. So, were you able to identify the importance of experiential learning and engagement in virtual learning? So, in the chat box, please put in what do you think is the answer, or what did you learn about the importance of experiential learning and engagement in virtual learning? So we weren't able to do the second bullet, and for the third bullet, we weren't able to really identify the need during the course, but I will emphasize the need for instructional design and coaching, especially Rock will emphasize that. So again, just to summarize, experiential learning is very important because engagement is the name of the game now. We don't want to bore our audiences. So to do it is we have a lot of tools at our disposal. We have the virtual space, we have the technology, and we have our soft skills. And now, just to let you know, again, I hope you will be excited if because we will be opening some more webinars. We're gonna talk more on the details, especially if you're in education. How about to convert your syllabus and curriculum and prepare it for virtual learning? Again, LMS stands for Learning Management Systems. So how to create a Google Classroom if you're interested in creating your own LMS. And it's not only useful online, it's also useful in when we return to normal life. So if you're interested, please sign up for LMS skills training. And we have FIBS designing master classes. It's a workshop type. And what I can assure you is after this masterclass that you'll be able to utilize the FIBS system. The Learning Event Management Blueprint as well. It's a thorough discussion of the canvas. And instructional coaching program, in a nutshell, it's really more on a continuous relationship between Rock and I, and then you yourselves. And as you go through along your development path as an instructional designer, as a coach, as an events manager for education, and as your own rock star facilitator. We also have creativity and applied imagination for business and organizations. And if you're very interested with my favorite, role play based learning, game design techniques for education, I'm your guy. And modesty aside, I hope that lightning will not strike me, but it allow me in saying that I am one of the few experts on that in the Philippines as of the moment. Okay. Oh, lightning. No. Okay. Good. So at least heavens have you with me today. Right. So in the end, thank you so again for here. It's still
All
your
right.
ability
So
to facilitate. Okay, one moment. It's still your ability to facilitate and not technology that will spell the difference, that will create memorable learning experience. And again, you can call me John, but I prefer Gian. And hope to see you soon. And I hope that you were able to learn it. I was able to provide you with value and that